So, guys, welcome to a special video that we've made today. So many of you will have seen Mr. Chris Palmer and myself doing the Wednesday show, taking your questions and your answers and all of that stuff. So we all know Chris is a very knowledgeable guy, and if you've been on the past few weeks, you will have heard us talking about Chris's course. And you'll have heard us over the past weeks and months talking a lot about click-through rate manipulation and engagement signals and all of that type of stuff. And we've seen other people out there with hundreds of phones. We've got people using micro workers. We've got people using paid ads. We've got all of that stuff. And it all works. Everyone will agree that stuff works. There's other tools out there, such as SERP clicks and other CTR bots or networks or whatever you want to call them, that are maybe not as efficient. Now, what if we were to show you something that you can build for yourself that is efficient, and will tell you why it's efficient and why it will beat most of the other stuff out there? And that's why we're here today. So Chris is the star here. I'm not going to make any claims that this was any of my doing. Chris is the one with the brains behind this operation. So Chris, finally we get to talk about CTR manipulation and the course that you've set up, which was launched a couple of weeks back.
It's only been out for a week. I did some pre-launch just to see if there was interest. Yeah, it's been about a week now.
A week now, and so just to give the audience a bit about the course, can you just give us a brief overview of what's involved in that course?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think that I know that it's for the person that, maybe you're just a small guy and you want to get a competitive advantage against your competition in a particular area, but also the guy that maybe has an agency or maybe has multiple affiliate sites. To be able to set up something that you control, that you know what's going into it, with the best proxies, the best service, doing clicks and sending the traffic that's highly targeted and sending the signals that Google wants to see, is super beneficial. Whether you're doing agency, affiliate, local, maps, very, very beneficial. We know that you're going to get that pop, but you want to keep sending the traffic. However, it's been proven time and time again that CTR and traffic are tops. And this is just a more efficient way to do it. And you control it.
You control it. That's the most important part. I think for me, what I find exciting about this is the fact that we can all use micro workers, but it can be hit or miss depending on who those actual micro workers are and whether they're actually spending the time doing the actions that you actually want them to do. Whereas with your course, we're able to build our own system, put it in a VPS, and then just get someone, a VA, someone, from a country that maybe, has a smaller cost of living, and utilize them, because basically a dummy can basically run this system for you. And that is the amazing thing. And that's why I'm excited to talk to you about it. But going in, your course is your course, and people can get that. And you will find a link to Chris's course below in the comments, or if you want to reach out to Chris direct, he can hook you up with the course. But one of the biggest things, Chris, I think we'll all agree, is there's tools out there like SERP clicks and many other tools, and there's good thought and good intention went into these tools in terms of how to do stuff. But the first thing I want to do is talk about proxies, and why I feel, because I've tested the crap out of this stuff for the last year, that why proxies are a big important part of this step. And that's the thing. We need to be able to appear in different places, and especially like if we're doing it for GMB, if you want to do the proximity thing, you need to be able to search, and widen your proximity, and that's something you can do with this tool. So what is your proxy setup like when you're training people compared to some of the other providers? Why should we use yours and not the other setups?
Yeah, and that's a great point. And to first understand why my way is elite is to first understand about proxies. So first and foremost, most people know about shared proxies and private proxies, which are IPv4 proxies. Now, an IPv4 proxy, when you're saying a private or a shared, is on a data center server, like it's a data center. So these are IP ranges that can be blocked. And if Google finds out whatever the case is, they could block that IP range. Now, when we're talking about IPv6, which is very similar to an IPv4, there's a larger range, but again, they can be blocked. They're generally in data centers. When we start talking about residential rotating, again, yes, this is a better, higher quality proxy that you can use for signing up accounts, whatever the case is. But again, there's only so many million of them. Eventually, maybe they are effective, but eventually Google's going to understand exactly, hey, this range, no good. Now, when we start talking about elite and the premier proxy, we've covered all the rest. We want to start talking about mobile proxies. And mobile proxies are always changing, forever changing, consistently. So for Google or for any company to block it, it would mess up tons of services and devices. They couldn't block a range because it's always changing. I mean, that particular IP could be anywhere. So when I'm talking about my service and what I'm showing you how to do, I'm showing you how to utilize a service provider to the internet and how you can always consistently have a fresh IP, a mobile IP that's always changing, and you'll never have to worry about it. Now, when we're talking about scalability, because a lot of people, hey, I might have a small business, other people might have an agency like you, maybe an affiliate. You want to scale it, you want to have somebody else run it. That's perfectly fine, but then we need to start relying upon other services. Then we need to start looking at, again, mobile proxies, because they're always changing. They can't be blocked. So the long story short is mobile proxies are elite. I'll show you how to create and generate your own, always consistently, fresh IPs. And as scalability, I'll show you where I go to get mobile proxies.
One last question on the proxies, Chris. You're saying mobile proxies. Are mobile proxies still, if we're doing some GMB stuff, for example, can you still make that mobile proxy look like it's in the south of Florida, for example?
Well, absolutely. See, when we're looking at a mobile proxy, the mobile proxy, it's always changing. So there's two different addresses. You're going to have the physical of where the service provider initiated it from, which again, it's a service provider, it's mobile. That could be anywhere, especially if you're using, say, a shared plan like a Straight Talk or a Net 10 or something like that. As far as the device location, you can change that per device, which a manipulation network, whether you're buying devices or maybe how I'm teaching it, virtual devices, I can change it by putting a ROM on top or putting and running an application on top.
So it doesn't matter. You can basically make that phone look where it's anywhere in the world, pretty much is what you're telling me.
And
right, no, that's interesting. Makes a lot of sense. So that's all good and well. So we've got your proxies are excellent. We can get the location thing right. How difficult is this for someone to set up? How long does it take for the average Joe to go through your course and then be able to piece this together?
Well, and I recently, for the 40 so people that took me up on the offer so far, to test it out and see how everything was, I put it out on a drip so people can get services they need and really grasp it. But once you have the full training, after it's been dripped out video by video, you can literally, as long as you have the materials, you could set this up for personal use in a day, and you could set it up at a scaled level in a day, day and a half, depending on the service providers. I like to set it up for myself, something that's self-contained, because the less moving parts, the better. That could be with anything. And I want to make one caveat. As far as we were talking about, say, SERP clicks, right? We're talking about micro workers, Mechanical Turk, whatever the case is. When you have somebody that is implementing a particular action for, say, 50 cents, right? And the more actions that you can produce, the more money you make. And we're talking about, other countries that where $5, $10 is a lot. What would make us assume that these people are not implementing the tactics that I'm teaching to create multiple accounts, create multiple devices that can perform these actions, and you're paying them consistently when you could do it yourself? I don't, I think that why wouldn't they be?
And a lot of these people all over the world are really smart cookies, and
right.
yeah, so making good use of technology. What I think would be good now, Chris, is if you could show us what something like this looks like if you've got one set up, and I know you have got one there that we can have a look at, because people will be like, what the hell does an emulator or something like that look like?
Right.
So,
and I want to say this because people could go and search emulator, and there's a lot of emulators. One that will show up is called BlueStacks. Now, there's a big difference between, say, a already created emulator and creating a custom emulator in an environment. And you can really change a lot of elements. You have root control over the device. It's a big difference, So I don't want to just have people be misled and say, oh, I could get an emulator and start doing this. There's a difference. You need to have custom,
Yeah.
And the steps will take some time. But as far as a device, I want to first show, like, let's say that we were inside of here. All right. And this is just one environment inside the training, Craig. Here, let me share my screen. Okay. All right. There we go. So let's go ahead and bring this up. And this is one environment. And I want to make it very clear that this is for, say, a home use environment that you're using. I teach how to do this, but there's also a scaled environment that I'll show you how to use, which is super beneficial for anybody that has more than one website, all right, or one property that they're trying to promote, or maybe they're doing it for clients. And another thing is you could offer this as a service, say launch jacking, say you want to get in front of somebody. You could use this for reputation management to adjust SERPs. CTR and traffic is ultra powerful. So I just want to let you know that I'm showing you this, Craig, and the audience, but this is only a small piece of what I'm teaching in my training. Now, with that being said, say this is only one because I launched this to showcase for everybody. I don't want everybody to see what I got going on. But here's one. This could be 100 different devices with different device numbers, different locations, different operating systems. They're different people, different personas, whole different people, right? Each of these could be different people. With that said, once I have everything launched, I now have a phone, a persona, a person, a new IP address. I'm a brand new guy sitting on a phone right now on my computer that I can go manipulate anything I want. So it's just as easy as, say, hopping on and doing a search. I did a quick search here for my business and brand. Here's Chris Palmer. I'm going on here. So we could start with, first and foremost, I just did a brand search by name for my business. I could also search, let's just say, if I wanted to, let's scroll on up. What if I were to, say I was searching for my competition and I clicked on my result. If you're doing a GMB, maybe you're doing local, another very beneficial piece to help speed things up could be setting up access points or routes by longitude and latitude. And I was explaining this a little bit before to Craig, and I'll explain it to whoever's watching. But let's just say, for instance, I'm in my main business is this Happy Hollow. We'll say, this is primarily for GMB local, which is going to get the most benefit. But again, launch jacking, reputation management. But if my business is here and this is a 5-mile radius, I could have my device in this location here at the Walmart Supercenter, and I could say, hey, what's directions to this business? I could then take those directions, go to the place, click on the listing, look at the photos, and then make a phone call. Now, it'll show up as a click, but there's a lot of steps to actually go through with the call. All right. So that's one aspect of what you can do. Let's go back out of here. So if I were to just go on here, let's just turn this back on. Do you have any questions so far, Craig?
No, keep going.
I mean, it's at the end of the day, just to sum it up, I don't want to leave anybody confused. At the end of the day, this is only one. I could have 100 of these. Each of these devices could be on a separate brand new IP in a brand new location that is acting as a real person. How does anything happen online with click-through or traffic? It starts with the person, a new person generating traffic, generating clicks. Anything you could do as a normal person, I can do on this particular device. So let's just say, what if I was, I don't know what would be a very good search. Let's keep on to my guy here. Is there anything that you would want, perhaps? Because I think that sums it up. I mean, I can do anything that you want, it's.
Yeah, I think the most important thing here is to understand that this is just a phone. Now, if you wanted to go and click on YouTube videos, you could go onto YouTube, click on the videos, watch them. There's a whole lot of other things you could do with this, other than the GMB thing, as you say, reputation management, or anything else for that matter. You launch jacking, anything that you would use micro workers and click-through rate, you can use this for. And you said something to me prior to jumping on here, is that you can basically do something with these devices where you can change the IMEI numbers and everything else. So these can be fresh, unique.
Oh, yeah. And that's a great point, Craig. Now, if you want to keep using the same device and you want to get very, very granular with, doing things like really black hat, you really want to get into it, there is another addition, especially at scale, that you can start adding custom ROMs on top. There's programs, and anybody could go and look. They're called Exposed is one of them. Another one is Magic Disk. And with these tools, you can literally get granular, go inside. You can change the IMEI. You can change the phone. You can change the MSI number, which is the SIM card number. You can change all of the details because, again, this is an emulator. It's not a simulator. This is a real phone, a real device attached to a real person. You could go in and log. You could buy 100 Gmails and sign them in, to Gmail, sign into a Google account. Like you mentioned, if you wanted to, but again, this is a resource heavy element, all right, on, say, a VPS or on a computer. So, to be clicking on YouTube videos and watching videos, you could, but you would need a powerful computer to run 100 of these and start going, or a very powerful VPS. Just so people know, like, it's the testing and the results that I was showing was primarily and 100% so far for local Google My Business, manipulation and traffic, sending clicks, looking at photos. It's been primarily for GMB and local properties. Now, I was playing with others to see, hey, if I start clicking, will I notice a jump? And I did, say, about 7 days later. But once the traffic stopped, then it dropped. And that's usually a question that I see. But when we're talking about GMB, it only takes a little bit, once or twice a week, to notice a big benefit. That's why I really, really am, pitching hard as far as local and GMB, because this kind of stuff is super beneficial. There's less factors.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I get, looking at 100 videos may be pretty grim. And I'm sure there's probably smarter ways to get traffic onto your videos instead of utilizing the time and computer resources to do that. But it is possible. It can be done. And that's the important thing. Now, it all looks good and well. It's all easy and simple to set up if we do your course. But what is the kind of cost? And I know that people have asked you this numerous times in your group, and I know the answer to it, but for anyone watching, what is the kind of cost of setting this thing up?
And again, I'm really showing, because I wanted to make it worth it for everybody, for both sets of people. Like, hey, I'm just a guy, I just want to boost for my business, or maybe I have 1 or 2 clients. But then there's a guy that's doing, everything that we talked about. As far as cost is concerned, you always need internet access. We can get cheap internet access for one person, say, for $10 to $20 per month. All right. And this is a lot of clicks. If we take a look at SERP clicks, we're looking at $150 to $200 for, I'm just using them as an example. We look at micro workers, 50 cents to $1 per action, and we don't even know what's going on. So that's that. As far as the environments are concerned, the environment to set up the custom, phones, the devices, the custom personas, you can get that complimentary. They want you to play with these. Now, another caveat is, but hey, how are these custom? Because they're already there. You can create and build custom. You can go and get custom emulators. It's very, very easy. And I show this in the training. So we have internet connection, which is going to always bring us our fresh IP. Now, if we're going to a scaled level, as far as getting fresh proxies and fresh IPs, you're looking at $10 per day to have fresh mobile. And we want mobile. They're the best.
Yeah.
And then other than time, the environments are complementary. At scale, if we're using a VPS, in my training, I showcase one that gives us an 8 V-core with 8 gigs of RAM, and that's $25 a month. And if you've ever had a VPS, that's super powerful.
Yeah.
Other than that, the $10 recurring for the proxies at scale and the VPS charge, that's it. As far as the home-based, you probably need at least 2 devices. So that's 50 and 50 is 100, plus the service is 20 and 20 is 40. That's 140, and then your time. So 140 for a home-based, 200 for a scale. And then on a monthly recurring, once everything's set up, you're probably looking at $20 to $40 a month at a home and personal. At scale, $200, $300. But then you could really, things are running. Yeah, you could do a lot.
So no, I think, a lot of people, including myself, when you add up the cost of micro workers, proxies for other bots and all of that kind of stuff, you're spending that anyway. But what are you getting in return? That is the big question. And obviously the point we want to try and make here is that your way clearly will work 100% if it's set up properly. And you're avoiding all those massive footprints, burnt proxies, people not doing what they're asked to do. And you can basically delegate a VA to do this. Just give them a simple process. Here's what you do. Here's what you click on. Go and do this, and do all the proximity thing. Go away, move on to the next project, and rinse and repeat, which is obviously a very tedious task, but there's people out there who do that stuff all day, every day. And I think being able to offer a course and allow people to do this for themselves, doing it that way, is a massive thing. As I say, I've tested things for the last 6 to 9 months, and I think proxies have been a problem massively. The tools in theory have been several years old. One of the best tools I did find was CTR Booster. But as you know, there's a lot of limitations, and you can try and get your residential rotating proxies and they'll work to some degree.
That's right.
But we can't. Yeah, there's I think in terms of future proofing what you're doing as well and making this stuff work longer term, it's something you're going to have to consider. Is to just build your own. And I think the great thing about your course is you're showing people how to do it. You don't have to have your technical understanding of how this all does. You're putting it together for them, basically, and making sure that it's a kind of dummy's guide to being able to plug and play. And I think that's magnificent. And I think I can't speak highly enough of how well CTR manipulation works. Having done a lot of paid stuff with it, and and if I can get a setup like this working for me, then obviously it's something I have to consider. It will cut down my costs and hopefully improve performance as well, because I'm doing the same as everyone else.
That's right.
It's hit or miss. So, So you said, just a couple of questions I've got for you, that you're drip feeding the stuff out on the course. How long is that information drip fed out over?
The entire course training, I call it a training, but the training will end at 15 days. The last section I consider it a bonus section where it's, hey, how do you use this stuff? Because really it's a network and it's a setup training is what it is. And I want to touch on that. You brought me to a point of, I'm showing you one way, and I'm showing you how to scale it, but you might be, I'm just introducing everybody to the idea. Hey, this works. This is something that you can do. It's cheap. It's affordable. It's working right now. Like, we have an edge, like, take advantage. You know what I mean? Like, get it while it's hot. Like, this stuff, it's that outline. This is that 10% outline that's working right now. The rest of the SEO, 90% has been the same forever. This is one of those things that's, and I'm trying to lead people to the well that, hey, I'm showing you this, but you might learn, hey, you might start doing some reading and say, hey, I found out a better way. Hey, I know a better way to do this. I'm planting the seeds to give you success is what I'm trying to do,
Yeah.
As far as the drip feed, I sent out an email to, the 400 people that I talk with. And I said, hey, I'm sorry that I had to do this because of past trainings. I want to give it out, and I want to break it out section by section. I want it to be more professional, because I was doing my last trainings on Drive stuff, like showing people, I was letting them download it from Drive, and people were like, hey, I want this back. They went and downloaded everything. It was, I wanted to drip it out. Plus, you need to get some services and tools. Plus, there's a lot to wrap your head around. Like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm showing you, and I'm clicking. I'm doing this, but there's a lot of understanding that goes into it.
Yeah.
So, 15 days.
15 days. Not interesting. And is there anything else that I've not asked that you're constantly asked that you want to get across to people?
Yeah. I mean, the big one is, the cost, which we covered. The IP addresses. Can it work for me? I get a lot. And like I mentioned, like, I made 2 videos just showing what I was doing with it and that it was working. I wanted the, proof of concept. I have specifically, I want to make it clear that I've tested it within local and GMB. Yeah, I've clicked on my videos before. But I think that the huge takeaway for this is going to be local, GMB, maps. This is where you're going to get the most benefit, in my opinion. I hate to close the door to others, but can this work for me has been a question. Also, with the click-through rate manipulation, just like, you've been buying it. It doesn't happen right away. It does take a little bit of time, but then you'll see a bump. But then in that same period of time that it took to get up there, say it'll stay for 5 days and then it'll fade off.
Yeah.
GMB, you get results for a much longer time. That's really been the same questions. How easy is it? How long will it take? Can I get a discount? That's been, but to me, it's like, if you were doing it the device way, you could get those for, $50 to $75 a piece used, and you don't even know where that device came from. If you're using micro workers, if you're using SERP clicks, a lot of those services start at 150 or 200, and they're not even showing you what's going into it. You don't know what's happening. I'm showing you every step. I'm opening the door for you. I think that's worth $300.
100%. If you're smart and we all invest in training courses at some, not at some point. I invest in courses all the fucking time, and it's with a view to try and better myself, or leaning someone like you who's a lot smarter than me when it comes to this side of things. And fuck it, why not? So guys, it is $300 for the course. If you do have any other questions, please reach out to Chris. The link is below, and you can obviously join Chris's group and all that kind of stuff as well. The link's below, where you if you're doing the course, there's other guys doing the course in there, and I see people commenting in the group, when's the next bit getting drip fed out, how long it's going to take, so you can find out a lot more about what's going on alongside the other people that are doing the course. You'll be able to pick each other's brains and help one another as well. And I think that's what the community is all about, is being able to go into your group, and you might be in your bed sleeping, but one of the chaps in there might be able to to lend a hand as well. So,
and that's a good point, Craig. You see, people are wanting the next pieces, but nobody's saying, "Oh, this is get out of here." Nobody's saying that. Everybody's like, "Wow, this is great. When's the next piece coming?" Because I think it'll be valuable for anybody doing local GMB reputation. If you want to do a quick launch check, you want to get that quick bump. You got somebody that has bad spam, reports online, you want to push them up just, to get a client to show them initial bump, videos. I think there's a lot, so.
There's a lot you can do with CTR. Yeah. I think what you're showing here is the concept on a basic level, but people are crazy and can go on and move that up another few levels and do different things with it. And I think that's what the great thing is in this industry is you can take something from a guy, twist it and add your own mix to it and make it something else, which I think this definitely has the potential to twist into 100 other things. So for $300, as I say, I don't normally promote courses on a big scale, but when it comes to click-through rate, manipulation, and smarter ways of working and dealing with smart guys, then I'm always happy to say, this is a course I would highly recommend and take advantage of it while it's working. We don't know if this stuff will continue to work for the next 10 years. Hopefully it does, but you've got to take action now, guys. So make sure you do get a hold of Chris, grab a copy, and just embrace it. Please. So, Chris, thank you for sharing all of that stuff, and good luck with it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Craig.
Cheers.